So I've had this Omni-Tech jacket from Columbia for a few months, and I recently wore it at a very rainy soccer game. And so I'm doing a little follow-up testing today because it did not keep me as dry as I thought it would. So I'm going to test it here in the shower. I'm actually going to compare it to an older jacket I had, which was originally waterproof, and it is an LL Bean jacket. And then I'm going to compare this to a Frogg Togg jacket, and we're going to see if we can tell the difference here in a controlled environment. In the shower, I'm going to put my arm under the water for 1 minute. So for my highly scientific experiment, I am going to tape some paper onto my arm just to see if the paper is damp or if there's any running in terms of the ink on the paper. Do I need to put the jacket all the way on? Do I need the hood on? So each of these has some form of tightening on the wrist. Now I'm not planning to let any water get down in there, but I am going to wrap some tape around it just to make it tight so that that's not an element. Why not duct tape, you may ask? Well, so again, I know that rainproof jackets often lose some of that over time, and that was one of the reasons why I gave up on this one and moved on. So if you've been around long enough, you've probably got a few of these in your closet or you've gotten rid of them. All right, time is up. Let's try to keep the integrity of the experiment in place. Now, I will just say before I take it off, my arm feels wet. Take it off this way. No water is allowed inside my arm. All right, so you can see this is pretty wet. Quite a bit of smearing. You can see the water on the paper. So, not unexpected. I knew that that would probably be the case. So the bathroom obviously gets more humid as we go. The fan did kick on. I do have the door open as well. And to be fair with that, I did start with the jacket, which was probably at the most disadvantage in this comparison. I am going to also thoroughly dry my arm and give it a little time here to dry off before we do the second jacket, which will be the Columbia. All right, we're gonna go with the Columbia Omni-Tech jacket next. I'm gonna do the same thing here. I am putting myself through a lot of pain for taping this on my arm for what it's worth. Okay, this jacket is dry. The humidity today is quite low. And again, it does have a tightener on it, but I'm also going to add tape around the cuff here. Okay, 1 minute. Now you may say, is it fair to do this much water? It may have been raining this hard during that soccer game I'm talking about, so. One minute. Stop the clock. So I feel like there's some moisture. I don't feel like my arm is wet as before. Trying to keep the situation the same. We gently pull it off like that. You can still see water beading off the jacket. All right, let me get a towel. Let me show you what this looks like before I take it off. So I don't see any moisture on the paper. There's some moisture on my hand, obviously, that was outside the jacket. All right, so I may have accidentally touched the paper with my wet hand. So I don't find any evidence of moisture on the paper, actually. So, nor does my arm feel even damp. All right, so we're gonna do the Frogg Togg jacket. If you've ever worn Frogg Toggs, they are pretty amazing. But this one, so I want to personally and publicly here apologize to Frogg Togg because I left a G out in spelling. There are 2 G's in Frogg, just as there are 2 G's in Togg. So we're trying to set this up the same way. So with the Frogg Togg jacket I have, there's no adjusting on the wrist, but it's pretty tight. Nonetheless, I will wrap the tape around it as well to keep all things equal. Under the water we go. Again, this would be quite a downpour, but we're only doing it for 1 minute here, so if you're out in the rain a while, that obviously changes the dynamic. But I think it's a fair test. I've been out in the rain a lot. I'm a sports dad. Come on. And time. All right. So how does it feel underneath? It feels drier. So like I said, even with the Columbia jacket, I felt a little bit of, it felt moist inside, and that may have been the feeling I was getting at the soccer game. But in terms of this one, it doesn't even feel moist inside. So I would not be able to tell you that my arm had been under a shower just by the way that it feels right now. So we will still gently remove this, make sure we do not contaminate the experiment. So as you would expect, there's no evidence here of moisture, and I don't feel any moisture. You be careful not to contaminate with my moist hand, but no moisture. All right, so let's draw a couple of conclusions here. The sleeve does still feel wet. Does it feel wet on the inside? I would say no. So did it keep my arm dry and the paper dry? It did. Frogg Togg certainly is equally dry, if not more so, and then the old LL Bean jacket is still pretty wet. So this jacket's 8 or 9 years old, so not unexpected that it would have issues. Rainproof does not last that long on jackets like that. So this was mainly a test on the Omnitech from Columbia, and I think it passed the test. I'm going to give it a 95. So was my arm wet? No. Was there still a moist sensation compared to what I felt inside the Frogg Togg? There was, but no real evidence of it. So again, why did I feel that at the soccer game? I'm not sure, and I'm not going to do all the research behind it, but I think it's a very good waterproofing. I would probably recommend wearing a good wicking layer under it to enhance the moisture staying off your skin. Just from experience, I'm not saying that's not keeping the water out, but certainly there's a difference in how they feel. And I'm not a scientist, I'm not a clothing scientist, so I'm not going to explain that one. But so still happy with the jacket, still going to wear it. But is there a case for the Frogg Togg? I think there still is, yes.